Welcome to the Business of Pleasure podcast. I'm your host, your sexologist bestie Cash, and today we are gathering for a very special episode. One that's not just close to your hearts, but soaked in love, legacy, and a whole lot of lube. We are here to honor the remarkable life of none other than Dean Elliott, the dynamic, unforgettable founder and CEO of Sliquid. But listen, I need you to hear this because Dean wasn't just some visionary entrepreneur. He was one of the biggest hearts and the brightest souls in the entire Bedroom Kandi community. For years, his company crafted some of our most cherished bath and body goodies. But let's be real, around here, we really affectionately knew him as the Lube Dude. And baby, his presence, electric, vibrant, loud, in all of the right ways. And you knew Dean had entered the room before you ever even saw him. His laugh would grab you, and his spirit would seriously just give you a big old hug. He didn't just bring us products, he brought us joy. He brought us love. He brought us those random, unexpected giggles that would hit mid-conversation and leave your cheeks sore. And when I say that, I mean it's because Dean had jokes, y'all. And one thing he was going to do was toss a pun up in there. See, at our last big splash with Dean was at our 2022 Bedroom Kandi 10th annual convention. And when I tell y'all he celebrated with us in full force, baby, he was dripping in joy and did not hold back at all. But shortly after that, we learned of his battle with cancer, a fight he faced with more strength and grace than I can even put into words. Our consultants immediately rallied hard around him to send him messages, prayer, wet wishes, because, you know, we keep it cute, and an outpouring love to let him know, you know, just how deeply he was missed by us. But today, I want you to learn more about Dean, but not just from me. I want you to hear from Dean himself. So sit back, slide into the moment, and let's hear some snippets of Dean sharing how he got into the business of a pleasure. Introducing this week's pioneer pleasure, none other than the Dean Elliott, the Lube Dude.
I just wanted Dean to tell his story about how Sliquid actually got started.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's important. There's a lot of new people here, and I think to understand the why behind why is Dean involved in this business?
Well, I was born in a small farm town. No, I'm not going to go back that far. So in 2002, after 9/11 had happened, and I worked in a completely different career. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, was using KY or Astroglide or some shitty lube. And again, I'm not shit-talking them, but she was having problems. She was getting, yeast infections and UTIs and all sorts of problems. So at that point, I knew I had to reinvent myself anyway. I was working in television, and all of a sudden, after 9/11, people didn't want to leave the country, and I didn't do anything domestically, so we shifted gears. Now, my wife was working in consumer products, CPG, and so it was a little bit easier to kind of get introduced into this world. I was on a store check with her. She was working for Playtex at the time, and doing fem care, right? You go down the fem high aisle, and she was working on the tampons and all that. And I picked up a bottle of whatever it was that we had normally used, and I couldn't pronounce anything on the back panel. Nothing. I mean, it's all this, this Greek terminology, and outside of water, there was nothing in there that I could understand. So I hired a chemist, and I really, I'm one of these guys where if I don't do it right, I don't do it at all. I hired a chemist who was making cleaning products for Whole Foods. And I knew if he was making cleaning products for, Whole Foods, I don't know how it is now with Amazon, but back in the day, they were very stringent about what went into anything that was on their shelves. And we hired this guy. He was tremendous. We worked for between 14 and 16 months just formulating, and we found what worked. And she didn't have reaction to it. She had other friends that were having similarities, UTI or thrush or any type of bacterial infection, and they weren't having a problem. So that's how it kind of started. And then from there, we built the line. From our initial one formula, we built the line from that. And it was just our one formula with the warming stimulant, menthol. Our regular formula, adding in some flavor, and so on and so forth. So everything starts, our whole line, except for obviously Sleek, starts with that same formulation. If we add aloe, if we add carrageenan, if we add, they all are basically purified water, plant cellulose derived from cotton, a guar gum to help that cotton fiber move, because, cotton is cotton, and so on and so forth. So that's how it started. My wife has a great vagina, thanks for asking. Of course, I never get to see it anymore, but, I hear it's fantastic. So that's how the brand, the line was started, and then of course when we teamed up with you guys, you had your own, interesting flares you wanted to introduce, and we've been kind of falling in so back and forth. Some of the formulations we've done for my line, for the Sliquid line, is a response to the call, right? Everything is call and response. Well, you put a call out there, and we would respond to it, and when it made sense, we would work it for us. And that's how it's a symbiotic relationship.
Oh, did y'all hear that ability to respond come back just now? Ooh, put a call out. Okay.
I just wanted to point out one other thing, and it kind of goes back actually to what I said this morning, which is that you don't know where your path is going to lead, right? Dean was doing something completely different. But the one thing that I will say about products in particular and product development, which we're going to get to next anyway, so it's a good segue, is that when we've developed products, we develop products that answer the need of a customer. And I think Dean's Lube is so spectacular, and I love his story because it was born out of a personal need and something that he wanted, a problem he wanted to solve. And it's just like when we heard Angela earlier, when she developed the Pure Bar, that was for her husband. It was for an issue he was having. So the cool thing about all of these stories that you're hearing today is you can take these back to your customers and feel with total confidence. Like our lubes came from a person who had a wife that was suffering from yeast infections all the time because all the lubes out there weren't very good. They didn't have good ingredients. You can be rest assured that our products have great ingredients. So I just kind of wanted to highlight that and point that out to all of you. And thanks for sharing your story, Dean.
Dean, can I ask you, I know some of you guys know that Dean is the Lube Dude, but what we may not realize is that Sliquid is also responsible for a lot of our soft product, like our Refresh and Renew and our Smooth and Soothe, which are loved favorites in the Bath and Body collection. And even during the pandemic, I know with all the varieties of things that we have, when it comes to those types of products, since I remember people were like, was it Mango Passion for a little while? They were like, when is that coming back? When you are curating products, and you're doing mindful things around fragrance and stuff like that, how can those sort of things impact things for you? How can some of these sort of supply issues impact products like Smooth and Soothe, and making sure that you don't compromise the quality and the ingredients in them?
Am I on? Morning, everyone. Morning. I've got the power. You all felt what we were feeling because I know a lot of you were clamoring to get products during the pandemic. We can't tell you how many times we said, sorry, Suki, sorry, Rita, sorry. I mean, that was kind of like a standard protocol. We won't make the products if we can't get what we need. And we didn't. And you guys were out, and it sucked, right? And then, because we use natural stuff, the shelf life is what the shelf life is, or the suppliers are who they are. And so, organic aloe. We only use a certified organic aloe for any ingredient we use for you guys for aloe and for my line. One supplier in the US, one. And I'm telling you, their pricing, once they felt like delivering, was like Bolivian cocaine. I kid you not, I was looking for Estevar, would bring in the shit on a mule. A sack of aloe, right, would come with armed guys, and it was ridiculous. But that's what it takes to make the products that we expect, right? Your clientele would know the difference if we were using shit versus the stuff that we actually use, right? And I would rather tell you, for you to tell your clients, hey, you know what? We're out. When we have it, we're back ordered. When we have it, we'll get it to you. We had a problem with a flavor, right? And that flavor, and I guess we were at the tail end of it, but still, it's natural. So some of those things will dissipate in time. We hope that it doesn't. But to bring that flavoring in, we had to wait. We had to wait again. Even though there was a mistake on someone's part, or maybe there wasn't enough, whatever it was, we waited because we wanted to make sure that the right thing was going in the bottle. We don't want anybody to taste it. We're like, wait, that doesn't taste like the same blah, blah, blah that we had last time. It's got to be consistent across the board. We felt the impact for all of that. Supply chain, bottles, I mean, as simple as our bottles are, our lead times went from 8 to 10 weeks, which was standard, to 26 weeks. That's 6 months, right? So all of a sudden you've got your aloe in stock, you've got this, and everything we produce is made in USA, by the way. Everything. Nothing comes in sourced from anywhere else. Bottles are blown in St. Louis, the caps are made in Reno, Nevada, the labels are made in Newburyport, Massachusetts, not far from Sook's old joint, right? So we keep everything here. And during the pandemic, when states would mandate X amount of employees could be on a floor at any given time, that's another reason you guys got held up with stuff. I'm happy to say we're flush. We've got product. We've bringing more stuff in. I know we're constantly working on new things for you guys as well. I have nothing to announce, but I know that there's stuff that we're always working on. So yes, I hope that I answered your question somewhere in that.
No, you did excellently. Okay. Because I think what it emphasizes the importance of communicating to your customers. One of the biggest things we emphasize at BK, which is quality, and that we will not compromise quality. But Dean, can you talk to me? Because everybody looks at Dean is always coming bright, great energy, great mood. But what's your routine, right, for keeping yourself in that space and just feeling good on a regular basis?
I don't know that I can talk about the first 30 to 40 minutes of my morning routine.
Well, Dean, you are at a Bedroom Kandi convention. If that's a part of the conversation they need to be having.
Well, it tends to make me a little tardy, like this morning. Tardy for the party, that's correct. I just feel like everyone should leave the house grounded. They should feel relaxed and ready to take on the day and whatever it brings, right? A lot of the products that we make for you, I use for myself. I love our lotions. I love our lubes. I love all of those. I get high on my own supply, if you will, right? And I'll tell you something, I built my business, and hopefully you're building your business around, earning people's trust. We make products that I'm proud of, and I know that I'm passionate about. So you say I'm bubbly and all that. I'm fucking dead half the time. But when I'm here, I'm bubbly because I get to hang with you guys and I feel the love and the energy. I feed off of that. But we make products that we're very proud of. We use, we'll get into that in the panel too, we use very natural and organic ingredients that we're doing right by our clients. And the way that I have sold our products throughout the years is like, look, I know there's X, Y, and Z out there. And I'm not going to shit talk anybody, even though they all suck. But no, I don't shit talk anybody. What I do is I say, listen, take it home. I want to earn a spot on your nightstand, or I want to earn a spot on your bathroom or on your bathtub or whatever. Don't take my word for it. Take your own word for it. And the minute they have that and they feel like, okay, there's a bit of a challenge, but this guy is really passionate about the fact that he just wants to earn this, that, we've been very fortunate. We make such great stuff. I don't worry. The one out of 25 or 30 people that are like, it wasn't for me. Okay, see ya. It's the other folks that we know we're doing right by that love what we do. You should feel great about the products that you're putting out. Not just the stuff that I make for you, but all of it. Because I know the time and effort these ladies put into, bringing this to you through the CAC, what do they call it? Consultant Advisory Board, right? I thought there was an acronym for it. It's funny. It's like you always want to make sure you don't say the other one. But, because that sounds a little funny. The CAC, right? So you guys put a lot of time and effort into taking it home, using it yourselves. It's like kicking the tires. You can't take someone's word for it. You really got to experience it yourself. And when you were saying before about take that home, put it on your nightstand, or you have to believe in the products, take stills of yourself using it. I don't use other products. I don't care if I were, hadn't had sex in a year and someone said, all right, you can have sex with so-and-so, but you got to use KY. It's not happening, right? It ain't happening. I mean, honestly, I'd never fuck with anybody else's lube anyway, but I just wouldn't. I wouldn't for numerous reasons, right? But that's how important I believe that if you truly believe what you're selling and you're passionate about what you're selling, and you should be, then it'll sell itself.
Oh, that was an entire word and a mouthful too. But
Now that you gotten a peek at Dean's softer side, his sweeter side. Wait, hold up. Was it soft though? Let's be honest. Dean always brought the heat and a little wild streak. Only he could jump on a natural wellness panel and turn it into a party. That man had the magical ability to mix business with a wink, a giggle, and a cheeky pun you almost missed until it hit you 2 seconds later and left you like, oh my God, did he just say that? What we loved about Dean was his unique way of making even the grown folks' topics feel approachable. He knew pleasure could be serious, sacred, but he also knew how to keep it silly and sensational. Dean was the slick mind and the slippery fingers behind our best-selling, award-winning lubricants. His puns, always legendary. His timing, always juicy. His energy, wet and wild, baby. So now I need you to buckle up and slide in, because we're about to take a celebratory, and by celebratory, I mean celebratory ride through the wild world of products that Dean passionately brought to life. Go ahead and check this out.
guys, as you can see up here, BK is like amazing about having a lube for everything. But one of the things I think the community sometimes is not always aware of is which lubes for what, right? Since there's so many variations, the goal of this panel is to make sure each and every one of you come out of here with a really clear understanding of how to position some of these lubes in conversation at your parties. When your customers convey certain things, which ones you want to put in front of them that they might respond to most. But for whatever circumstances may you say, oh, you might need this one too. Because people think like it's just one lube, like they say one size fits all. It's like, nope, one lube does not fit all. So, getting straight to it and not delaying it any further, Dean, I'm going to come over here to you. We know that a Bedroom Kandi collection, you guys have really done a great job at giving us some amazing variety. We have some really nice natural water-based lubes, including our BK Naturals, our warming lubricant. We also have the delicious Encounters varieties and our new Tangerine Peach 2-ounce that we have in a variety of flavors on the water-based side, right? But can you talk to me about water-based lube? Can you help everyone understand what water-based lube is, what the best recommendations for water-based lubes are, and how do you make the most effectivity? So, whether it's like it works well with water, all those types of things that people might not be aware of, and help them understand just in a general space.
Hello. I feel like I sound like this until the mic comes on. Now I'm cool. Okay, well, honestly, our water-based lubes and the flavors are certainly water-based lubes. But if you look at the natural, so you want to start?
Let's start with the natural.
Start with the natural?
They're closer to you.
So if you look at the very first ingredient of this lube, it's not purified water. It's organic aloe, right? So it's a water-based lube, but it's also an organic aloe-based lube. So there are going to be people that ask you, well, why is aloe the first thing that's on there and not water? Now, when we purify water, it goes through a 4-station purification system, right? So it's not just like we run it through a charcoal filter and it's done. It goes through charcoal, UV, cartridge filter, then back again through UV. It's 4 stations. So that water is as clean as possible. We rehydrate aloe, which comes to us, I told you, in these sacks that cost a fortune. And then we're able to turn that into an aloe-based, water-based, kind of you can go either way, but you might as well sell the property of the organic aloe. That's a lot of lube companies don't do that. And again, we're not Me Too. We're not following what they're doing. A lot of these people now are following what we're doing, right? So we're the originators. That's the way you look at it. You know, we're paraben-free, we're glycerin-free, we don't use any PEG, we don't use polyquatrinoms, we don't use any of that stuff. That's all shit. So we do preface everything we do by being natural and organic. So that aloe, again, comes into us freeze-dried, and then we rehydrate it with that purified water, and then it becomes aloe, because we use a product that it's called Terra 200X. Basically, with 200 times the amount of water per gram of organic aloe, it turns 1-to-1. So it actually is as powerful as if you cut that aloe plant, and you know what it's like when you cut it, it's that gelatinous mess, right? And it smells terrible, but that's what that is, and it's great. It's soothing. It has restorative properties. So fissures within your body, all of that. It's a great, tremendous lube for that reason. Water-based lubes are great to play with toys because you'd never have to worry, right? If you have a silicone lube like Sleek, which is fabulous for just about everything, it is, and I love it. Believe me, that's my go-to. But if you're playing with a silicone toy, you don't know what the silicone's made of. Maybe it's platinum grade, maybe it's not. The guesswork is taken out when you're using a water-based lube, okay? The problem with water-based is, compared to Sleek or even to Silk, is that it dries up a little faster. Ours don't gum up. That's what glycerin does, which is shit. Again, it's from the soap-making process. Ours gets a little tacky, okay? So that's the downfall of it. It's an anti-humectant. So humectants like glycerin will, if you put it on a table and you walk away, that little spot you leave will be bigger when you return because it's pulling moisture from the air. Water can't do that on its own, so it needs an ingredient. We don't use glycerin because most of us know why it wreaks havoc on your systems, right? Everyone should be at that perfect pH balance, whether it's 4.3 to 7.2 and maybe on the more acidic side. Everyone's different, right? But if you take that range and throw it out of whack, then you'll have issues, and that's where bacteria comes in. And again, I'm not going to get into it now, but Candida albicans. I don't know if you're familiar with how our gut flora works, and how there is bacteria, good bacteria and bad bacteria. But that's all in water-based, right? So you have to worry about those things with water-based or aloe-based products, unlike the other where it's completely non-toxic and hypoallergenic.
So I love the warming lube because I think it's a really incredible beginner product for somebody who wants to try something a little bit new. Now, I was always a fan of this because from way back in my consultant days, I was such a fan of stimulants that I would not sell a toy without being like, you need one of these first. I don't know which one you need because they're all kind of different, but I'm definitely sending you home with one and you will thank me later. So when Dean brought us this warming lube, I was really excited because again, we talk about every body is different and we each desire and enjoy different things. So some, our other stimulants are meant for external use, and this one is meant for internal use. So just from that perspective, I was excited that we have something that adds some extra stimulation. And for some women, that might be that you need a little extra something, just a little extra feeling. But when it comes to kind of like a foray into temperature play, this is a really fun product. Kind of like Dr. Nicole said earlier about utilizing our masks so we can limit one sense and really experience more of the others. I think that's a perfect pairing for this lube. So you can really focus in on how it's intensified that feeling for you. I also, not to deviate from temperature play, but this is also something that I recommend to my older clients who are struggling with some loss of sensitivity as you mature. So whether this is, I say this because this is such a versatile product, and the theme, again, we keep talking about is you can use any of these products in so many different circumstances, and to Cash's point, it's just finding out about what your client needs, what they're interested in, what they're curious about, and then you can help guide them to the right use. Like, if they're looking for something a little more intense, Cash, you ever put this in the refrigerator or the freezer?
Oh my God, and let it go from one way to oh.
Yeah, yes. And I think a lot of people wanting to venture into temperature play, they're like, that's great, but I don't really want to stick like a frozen glass piece inside of me because that seems like a lot. Or the flames were super sexy, but like also
on the very far side of it.
Yeah, an experience side of things. So this is a really safe way for people to venture into something new, to not have to worry about safety. And honestly, at the end of the day, y'all know a little extra stimulant, you can't go wrong with this. So this one's slept on a little bit.
It is slept on. And so I'm so happy you talked about some of those things because, and especially about like people who might need that extra spark, because we have a lot of like arousal products, like you mentioned, Ignite Me, Dean, that will get the feeling going. But when it comes to continuing the feeling in the actual intercourse experience, that's where the warming lube can be the perfect next level, like the level up version, right? So staying a little bit with the flavored lubes, what I want to also, with the water-based lubes, I want to talk a little bit about flavors, and then I want to ask also after, Dean, you talk a little bit about the flavors and how you mentioned the natural flavoring. I would love to expand on that, and then I would love for both our leaders to talk about how you present the flavors in the parties, right? Because we know this is like one of those things that can really be fun. We can definitely do a little game. I'm for that. So Dean, can you talk a little bit about how you guys go about curating these lubes and adding the subtle, not overpacked, impactful flavoring?
Well, that's exactly what it is. We just add a subtle amount. I don't think anybody here wants to mask the flavor of our partners, right? There are some lubes out there that are really syrupy or really taste like, other than the human body, your genitals, whatever, right? So we use just a trace amount of flavors. Again, they are derived from natural ingredients. We use 0.22% for most of them. I believe the two you have here for sure, or three. What do we have? We have strawberry, we have green apple, strawberry, pomegranate, green apple, chocolate, tangerine peach. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So they're all about 0.22%. That's less than 1/4% of aspartame. And some people are like, well, I've heard that aspartame, blah, blah, blah. There is more aspartame in one Coke Zero, Diet Coke, than there is an entire case, 12 units, of Delicious Encounters. So we're just putting in there for the aftertaste. If we don't do it that way, it's got a little bit of a bite to it. You get the flavor, but you don't get the sweetness of the flavor. So you need a little something to kind of generate that sweetness. So we use that, and it has been proven body safe. We've been in business for 20 years. We've had the Swirl line out and Delicious Encounters since day one with you guys for 10 years, but for us it's closer to 20. And honestly, it's the best. It's the best sweetener we could use. We've tried stevia, which is horrible. I don't know if anybody's used fuck. And I try, believe me. I get it. Well, it's natural from the tree. No. It tastes like ass. And believe me, I got no problem with the taste of ass, but not in my lube. All right? You can't use Splenda because Splenda is actually a sugar derivative. And what happens when you incorporate a sugar into your human body, at 98.6 degrees, we're constantly cooking. So you can't bring in a sugar derivative and not expect some kind of reaction to your pH, to whatever. Things get thrown around, right? So Splenda didn't work. None of that other stuff worked. The aspartame works. You don't need much of it. It is body safe. We've never had a complaint with it. What else about the water-based lubes? Oh, and the chocolate. So the chocolate, you'll notice, has a golden hue. It's golden because what's chocolate? It's brown. So when you add flavoring in, and you kind of get the idea of how little flavoring we're using, because it would really be brown if it was full intensity, But we use just a trace amount. We didn't know we could do this. We only make this for PK. The ladies really wanted a chocolate lube, and we were like, I don't know if we could do it. I don't think we could. And you guys have brought this to me how many times? And we tried it, and we were able to get it to that hue. We're like, all right, well, let's send it. We'll send it for review. We didn't think, we're like, well, it's kind of golden. But it's fabulous. I mean, it tastes great. It looks great. It smells great. I mean, the golden hue, you don't have to really sell it. It's chocolate. If you tell people it's right, it's going to be brown of some sort, so that is certainly passable. And again, it's become a favorite. I mean, I love it. I love the chocolate. And
I'm 100% on board with that. So, Dean, I think you might find this part really interesting because our consultants are going to show you how we get people to understand the importance of incorporating the slip and slide and how delicious encounters can get a little bit of fun, but really any of the lubes we carry. So, Karen and Anisha, I'm going to hand you my mic so that they can hear you while you're talking to each other.
So at my parties, we play the lube game. This is what Karen and I are about to do. So the lube game goes like this, and I actually learned this lube game from my accountability partner, Miss LaRonda Hobbs.
Laura, that's how much they together, huh?
I put the two together. They're 2 in 1. What's your name? What's your name is?
LaRonda White.
I get people to pair up, and I tell one person to hold their fist tight like this, and then I tell the other person, so one person is the vagina and the other person is the penis.
I'm your penetrator.
So you the vagina, Karen's the vagina, and which Cash is the penis, which is strange here.
Oh, you're tearing me.
Yeah, we don't do tears. No, stop. Take it out, baby. Take it out.
I could not get my finger. Karen is strong.
Yeah, we don't do tears. So then I say, okay, well, let me try this. Let's try to put a little lube on there, because one is painful, right? We don't want that. So now, penis, go inside that vagina. Let's see. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Okay.
Karen.
Okay. All right. Here, lady. Yeah. And that's very nasty. Yeah.
She licked it because it's delicious. Encounters.
Get a napkin, lady. What is you doing? Okay. So, Karen, how do you do it?
Anisha, you mentioned vaginal tearing, right? And what we don't realize is those little micro tears are literally, we talked about good bacteria, bad bacteria. It literally provides opportunity for bad bacteria to find a home, okay? And listen, as a woman, I can speak to you. Bacterial vaginosis is a thing, and no one wants their vagina angry at them because they had a good night. But when you also have this conversation, I also talk about, well, you know how there are certain positions that make you feel more aroused than others, like you enjoy it more. Your vaginal wetness varies with that. Like whether this is the one, I'm like, I know you like it. Okay, you can have it for 20 minutes right there, 10 minutes right there. But the truth is that when you switch from those different things, your vaginal environment is processing what your mind is thinking. And then when you get back to that one you love, everything is like, woo, we're back. So you talk about how lube keeps the wetness going continuously, because the minute it starts to dry up, that's when we get those micro tears from the friction of, oh, they hurt it. Oh, they were in there tearing it up. No, they were really tearing it up. Literally, you just can't see it unless you got a good microscope to get up in there and look at it. But truth be told, that lends to a doctor's visit a lot later, and your doctor's saying, well, what are you doing differently? And you don't realize it's just that you're not lubricating yourself when you're having sex. Because look, rough sex is a thing, right? But we want to do it safely and enjoy it. So just like pivoting from water-based, we're going to get a little slipperier. Get a little more slippery when wet. And I want to talk to you about, honestly, Dean, one of my favorites, which is silk, right? We're my silk lovers. I'll tell you, Dean, I know we talked about men being visual, but for me, it's the fact that it looks like
cum. It looks like cum.
Yeah, it's a super visual thing. And when you add that component to the fact that I use it for a lot of toy play because it has just enough silicone to keep things going in the bathtub. With the toys that I probably shouldn't. I'm just being honest. Like, if you're using a water-based lube in the tub, you're going to run into a little bit of a problem there. Yep. But if silk is one of those ones that works there, but it's safe enough for the surface of the toys. So can you talk to me about how you find that perfect blend of water-based and silicone there?
Yeah, well, we use just under 10% silicone. So I think it's like 8 to 9%. So it's still, even though it's creamy, it's still considered a water-based lube. I tell people it's a cream-based lube when they're asking, but it's technically a water-based lube. But yeah, it's great. I mean, it's got the padding on it, so if you want to use that for anal play, it's great. You want to use it for toy play, it stays in place. Like you were saying, it's got a little bit of that silicone in there, so if you are playing, and again, you have to be very careful how you word this, but if you're playing with a silicone toy and using silk, shouldn't be a problem. As long as you clean your toys, and of course, we've got cleaners too, you clean it, dry them up, put them away, store them, right? Not just leave them out in the, and I've obviously seen that too, where people just leave shit on the kitchen counter and it's like, oh, there's, all right.
And I think it's important to do it before and after. People don't realize before and after every use is when you need to clean it.
You really need to clean that toy.
I know it's hard when you just toss it to the side after you're done to be like.
Yeah. I mean, you could get back to it in 20, that's all right.
And let's give
There's
it
a sandwich waiting for you, whatever, I get it.
Dean, can you talk to us about silicone? Because I don't think people really realize. I think people are like, how do we know that it's safe? And they don't realize that silicone doesn't require preservatives, right? So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, silicone is it's an inert product, which means nothing can grow in it. If you take that bottle of Sleek, you bury it up to its neck in the sand in the Sahara Desert, and you disappear for a decade, and you come back, you're like, shit, where's that bottle? And you find it, nothing's in it. I mean, silicone lube is there, but nothing has grown in it. That's what inert lube does. So in the human body, because it is a foreign entity, your body's going to push it out in about half the time it would a water-based lube. That's why we have to be super careful of the water-based stuff or the aloe-based stuff, because it stays in there longer. Hence why we try to do things pH balance. We don't want to use the petrochemicals that other people, right? Silicone is silicone. There is nothing natural about silicone. But it's really an amazing lube. You want to have, yes, it is, right? You want to have, like I've been on vacation, and I know I've taught you, half of you have been here many times to hear me say this. I've been on vacation, and I look at some, like my lady in a bikini or whatever, and I'm at a pool, and I'm like, oh man, there's no one here. I'm going to get, right? Because you're looking at that pool thinking that's a huge vat of lube. But again, it's an anti-humectant. Well, it is for me. I mean, I look at shit, through lube glasses, but if you've ever tried to have sex in a bathtub or a shower or a pool or a hot tub without using a silicone lube, you're done, right? It's as dry can be.
Women like the sound, I guess, because that was what it was to me.
That's dry and dry right there. It doesn't get any drier than that. So what that does, if you're gonna play with a toy in your bathtub or your man in a pool or a hot tub or the shower or whatever, put it on the toy or in your man first, then have fun, right? It creates this magic sheath. It's fabulous for an all-body massage. You don't need a lot. I mean, a cap full of this lube will do from head to toe. You can give a tremendous massage, and it's not going to break down until you break it down with soap and water, right? So that is the amazing thing. So people are like, wow, so much more than the water-based. I don't know if I want to spend the 30 or 40, whatever that is, right, for the bottle of silicone. I don't know. Is there a big difference? It'll last 10 times longer than a water-based lube. So really, it's the most cost-efficient lube out there. Yes, for the purists, it's great to have the organic lube, the natural lube, the aloe-based lube. Those are great lubes for the daily. And I wouldn't say using silicone every day is necessarily harmful, but I'd give your body a rest from silicone because you definitely want to expel, right? But there's so many great attributes to this Sleek that if your clients haven't tried it, again, challenge them. Just say, look, I promise you, if you don't like this lube, bring it back.
Yeah.
No one's bringing that lube back. Nobody.
Well,
and if they do, call me because I'll buy it from you and I'll use it.
Well,
it's great for hair. You got a sticky lock somewhere. Your door creaks. Use this Sleek.
So I don't want to lie, but this is so real because I find myself whenever I run into issues at home thinking, what do I have in my BK arsenal that could probably fix this? And I have used it to remove a squeak. So now you mentioned something that was really, really important, Dean, and I think that we are talking about lube for the environment that is the natural lubricant generator. Our body of women, if you have female genitalia, it's naturally producing, fluid. But there's a part of the body that sometimes get penetrated that doesn't help itself out, right? So. And we also know that at parties, and I'm sure Anisha and Karen can contest to this, it's often that subject that people are like, this about, because immediately they think, warning, things are about to get, really painful. So just as we close up this panel, there is just one more area that I want to tap into, and that's some of the stuff that's like not as conventional as some of the conversations we've been having. So in this conversation, I kind of want to talk about two of them at once. And then we have one more lube that we kind of need to close out with. But I want to talk about T-Lube and On the Daily. Okay, so those who are newer or may not have been familiar with or haven't gotten their hands on, T-Lube is the lube that was formulated for trans men. And to specify, that means someone that was born with the assigned gender of female who now transition into the male gender. So they might possibly be taking things like testosterone or other things that could lend to atrophy in that area. What atrophy is kind of like a dryness, because increasing the testosterone levels kind of throws things off a little bit and doesn't make it as easy for them to experience the same moisture in that area, which can make sex super uncomfortable. And I'll tell you this, Dean, I really appreciated you sharing the story about how you came about this, because I met a group of individuals in the trans community, and they said that a lot of times they would go to the doctor and say, like, I still want to have sex, but it really is painful. And the doctors would suggest, like, abstinence or like, abstaining from sex, because they didn't really have a solution to tell them, like, you know, I'm sorry, but this is kind of the effect of the hormone. But then you went and had a friend who made you change the game on that one. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
So for those who don't know the story, I have an older brother, not by blood, but by love, and his name is Buck Angel. And Buck is called Tranpa because he is the first trans, celebrity trans out there. He's been trans now for 27 or 28 or 29 years, just under 30 years. He's older than I am, which not many are these days. I'm an old motherfucker. Anyway, so Buck, when he was going through TRT, which is testosterone replacement therapy, vaginal atrophy was a real deal for him. And what that is, it's the narrowing of the canal, and it causes dryness and discomfort and pain. He has a vagina. It's a man, and if you saw this guy in an alley, you'd fucking hand him your wallet because he looks like a badass. But he's got a vagina. And so he's got to treat that vagina like you treat your vaginas, right? He's got to keep that healthy and keep things moving and so on and so forth. And sex for him was really, really difficult. So he had said, man, I really, I want to play with different things and figure out what's going to work, what's going to, be best for my body and my situation. The testosterone really dries me out. So instead of just doing an organic aloe, we did an organic aloe infused with carrageenan, which is a seaweed extract. And if you don't know what carrageenan is, you can go to any beach in the world. I don't care if you're in Bora Bora or in Coney Island, New York. You're going to find that reddish-brownish pea pod shit all over the beach. You've seen it, right? And it's stuff you pick up and you can pop it, right? It's very slimy. Again, it comes to us dehydrated, and much like the aloe, we rehydrate that carrageenan with the aloe. Those two together give you a little bit better slip, give you a little bit better padding, and give you a little bit more longevity. For him, it worked out great. We had a lube that we had already formulated for this that he had tried. We said, well, just go home and try this. And we gave him that formula, and it worked wonders. That's why you see it here. It's the same lube in two different outfits, right? There's two different labels. Same. So for the trans community, because they have a vagina, and because the straight community, you have a vagina, you're able to use the same lube as a daily moisturizer. It can be used internally. It's safe. There are some that only for external use. This is great for both. You can use external or internal. It gives a little bit of the glisten. Again, it lasts a little bit longer. It has the padding, and it seems to work well for both. So hysterectomies, obviously, right, can cause dryness. Vaginal dryness, age, once you go through the change, all of that, right? Listening to me drone on, I'm sure, is causing vaginal dryness. But all these things can cause, right? So this is a great replacement for that.
Well, and this is really exciting. And once again, this is something that comes from the field. We did a training with you, I don't know, a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, just a lube training on a Monday night. I don't know how many of you remember this. We had an incredible conversation. I feel like, Frida, I remember you had a line from that one. And after Dean came on, because we wanted to really focus on T-Lube, we had it in line for a year or two, and it moves sometimes. And he was like, we got to tell people about how versatile this is, and to the point of things that are hormonally, needed. T-Lube sold out that week. Y'all took it seriously. Y'all told a friend. Everybody got it. And from that point, actually, Kasha and I had this conversation too back then. So we were like, we got to bring this in under another label so that everyone...
It was so funny because it was literally right around the same time that I went out to that organization and had the conversation, and they said it, and I was just like, wait a minute. So they conveyed the problem. And again, we talked about this before, having the solution. And so the solution's sitting there, but if you're not going out and having the conversations, we don't discover the problem. But then we realized that now we're having to explain to people how this is this product that was made for this, but it's also good for this, this, and this, when it's like, no, just package it that way so it's a lot simpler for you guys to present it. So just be mindful of what person you're speaking to, and then you can present the lube that makes this, sense for the conversation, whether it be for menopause, going through the change or things like that. Vaginismus is another condition that often affects the pelvic floor, involuntary contraction, which is a great opportunity to talk about new horizons, because there are people who have vaginal tightness that is uncomfortable, especially folks who've had certain conditions like cancer treatments, radiation, things like that really impact how things are moving down there. So that's an on the daily talk. But when you're Pride Month is coming, and October is coming, and there's a lot of places that do. That's the perfect time to be like product spotlight. So, just really quickly before we shift to our last thing, so that we can make sure we are on time. And don't worry, Rita, I built in a 15-minute buffer that y'all don't realize. I knew the lube talk was going to run. So, Suki, can you talk about how on the daily goes perfectly? And I would love for our consultants to chime in on this if this is something that you feel like has been impactful for the wellness conversation with our products like Hold On To Me, New Horizons, and even Crush, that are really, products that are meant to help restore the wellness to that area.
Yeah, so what I would say about On the Daily is it's fantastic to talk about On the Daily and Crush and Hold On To Me. So those, as Kasha said earlier today when you were talking on your wellness panel, are just great products for improving pelvic floor health, right? And as many of us go through menopause, again, you have that vaginal dryness. You also lose the muscles. You lose that muscle memory in the pelvic floor. And so that makes those two things like the perfect pairing, because the person that's obviously suffering from vaginal dryness may also be in need of some good pelvic floor work. Actually, everybody should do pelvic floor work. So that's something that's very interesting to me when we introduced that product. I've actually been pleasantly surprised by the fact that actually many younger women know about Kegel exercise. I was pretty surprised by that, at least the people that I've come in contact with, just regular customers out there in the world. And I feel like it's almost like my generation that doesn't know about it as much. So it's kind of funny, it's kind of flip-flopped, at least in my mind, or the people that I've come into contact with. And then, of course, we were talking also earlier, you were talking about men on the panel. And this is another great time when you're at your parties to talk about these changes that happen to our bodies and the idea of the pelvic floor exercise and why to do it. And also, obviously, to kind of train our female customers to train their sons and husbands and partners on what's happening with our bodies, because I think a lot of their counterparts may be unaware of what's truly happening and what's going on with our vaginas, and especially as it relates to kind of the pelvic floor. Oh wow, feels kind of loose in here now after I pushed out a couple of babies. So it's always good to just remind people that that's another piece to talk to their partner about.
Whoa! Did y'all laugh as much as I did? I could practically hear Dean giggling right along with us right now. But before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to send all of our love to Dean's incredible wife, Cynthia, to his beautiful children, Lucas and London, and to the entire Sliquid family. Dean's absence, honestly, it leaves a void. A big, bold, bubbly void that honestly nobody else can ever fill. But what he also left us with, he left us with his laughter. He left us with his love. He left us with his innovation, his signature drip. And that legacy will continue to moisturize our mission for years and years to come. Sliquid was built with so much heart, and y'all better believe we're going to keep that slip and slide alive in our own way. We are committed here at Bedroom Kandi to honoring Dean's memory, not just in words, but in action, in products and love, and yes, in laughter. Now, before we go, I want to invite you to watch a super cute short video that we created for Dean during the first year that he couldn't attend convention in person with us. And as I watched it again recently, it just hit the same way it did then, just as hard, because the love we had and have still for him, it's just as strong as it was then. But also I realized that the message still resonates, and actually it hits even more now.
Hey, we love you, we miss you, and it wasn't that slippery without you.
And it never will be as slippery as it is with you. But we gonna keep it sliding for you, Dean. Dean, I know you can hear me. I know you know how much we love you and how much we miss you. But I gotta say, I'm just a little bit jealous. Just like, because I know they are up there having a whole wet ride up there in heaven with you. And you are keeping them laughing in the same way with your vibrant energy that you have done just for us too. I don't know. I just hope they're ready for all that lube. Until we see you on this other side, friend, rest well. Slip into peace and slide into paradise. And know that your Bedroom Kandi family will always keep your memory and your mischief alive. This has been a tribute episode to the awesome, the amazing, the forever Lube Dude, Dean Elliott, the founder of Sliquid. We love you, Dean, and you are truly missed. Be sure to join us next week for a brand new episode where I'll be bringing in some of our BK influencers and consultants for a convo that's going to be wet, wild, and full of wisdom, because, baby, the lube was all up and down those conversations. But until the next time, I am your host, your sexologist, Bestie Cash. Stay slippery and stay sexy. Bye, y'all.